Tom Robertson, welcome to First Light.
Thank you, James.
Thanks for coming, mate, and sharing some time with us. Can you just maybe just give our audience a quick snapshot of yourself and what you do?
Of course. My name's Tom. I'm the director of Tom Robertson Architects, which I founded roughly, 13 years ago. We're a team of 7 architects based in Richmond with a distinct focus on new residential projects. And we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Good. Excellent, mate. We'll dig in a bit more to that later, but I'm going to start off with a quick question. When you walk into a home that you've designed years later, what are you looking for?
We love revisiting our projects. It's really special to be able to see how the owners get to use the space and do they understand how it was designed, which is not always the case. But it's lovely to see how much joy these homes bring them, how much pride they have in their house, and that's exactly why we do this.
Yeah.
Also, we try and identify things that we've done that may not have worked. And if we can add that back into our, process and things that have done really well, we again want to add that to our design vocabulary, which is very, very important for our team. It's also great to bring the whole team through that maybe weren't part of the team back in those days so they can see where it all began.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Has there been a one you visited and the client's like, oh my God, I didn't know why you did this at the time, but this makes perfect sense now. We've been living here for 5 years, whatever it is.
There's plenty of houses like that. Yeah. In terms of how the clients sort of reacted to some of the houses, when you receive a little message from a client 4 or 5 years down the track, when they celebrate how light comes into a space, is very, very special.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Good.
Natural light, that is.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think most people actually understand what good architecture feels like, or do they only know what it looks like?
That's a good question. I don't think everyone knows what it feels like. You can see that people certainly respond instinctively to things that are not just designed well, but also designed very badly. You can see that people's body language changes. They become uncomfortable. I guess every person seems to do that instinctively, yes.
And what's something about residential architecture that clients only realise after they've lived in the space?
Hopefully they understand the importance and the value of great design and how your family or how people function within a well-designed home, how well a home, the importance of good zoning in a house, good scale and proportion of each space is very, very critical. And those sort of elements are really, really fundamental to great design, we find, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, what drew you into design?
So long ago, it's hard to remember. I was always passionate about design early on, but I had a really strong mathematics, physics background as well. And that seemed to align when I was very young, and I sort of shimmied my way in. I wasn't a natural at university. I didn't click in there. I was openly quite intimidated by the process of university, especially the architectural faculty. And it wasn't until I took a break during that process and went and worked for someone up in Queensland that really made me click and fall in love with the design process. It was great. Yeah. And no looking back since then. I fell in love with the design, with architecture. It was, I certainly have him to thank for that, which is great.
Who do you think so?
I work for a gentleman called Gabriel Poole.
Yeah, okay.
Doing beautiful beach houses up in Sunshine Coast. And it wasn't until then that I really knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So you started your own practice 2013.
Wow, yeah.
Was it?
So roughly, yeah.
Yeah. What pushed you to take the leap, mate?
Originally, I worked for large practice. I certainly thought I loved that, style and size of architecture. After a long stint in one firm, I shimmied across to another, which didn't really click for me. I'd always wanted to start my own practice, and when that second sort of employment didn't really go my way, I was forced to start my own, practice, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Within a matter of weeks, I was really proud and passionate about working for myself, and I really wish I did it earlier, to be honest. Yeah.
So is it by accident that, otherwise you might have waited a bit longer and wait till the moment was right?
I sort of needed that little push.
Yeah.
And it certainly it opened my world to what I wanted to be as a business owner and doing more of domestic scale architecture.
And so early on, how did you go about building your client base? If it was so like instant almost, like how did you go about?
It's so hard.
Yeah.
How do you tell someone, can you engage me when I don't have any previous built work? It's really, really hard, and you have to really drive in that idea of networking and relationships with people you've known throughout your entire life. You need to milk every opportunity, and it sounds desperate because it is.
Sure.
And you need to be comfortable with that, especially being a younger architect back then. You know, it's a full-time job trying to find work, and then you've got to have another full-time job of doing the work, especially as a sole trader. So that's exhausting, but the reward is enormous. So, yeah, it was certainly hard. And I had some pre-existing relationships in terms of the network, and I was very lucky to land on my feet with some great projects early on, and they helped me establish the business.
Yeah. So is that the biggest challenge you had, or was there something else? Or would you say that was it?
There's a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Understanding how to run a business.
Sure.
What does GST stand for? You know, all these things. You know, university and working in large practice teaches you certain things about architecture. There's a lot of things it certainly doesn't teach you about running a business. So adapting to those things is huge. You would know yourself. It's a full-time sort of challenge, and you can't. It's not a thing you can leave at the door at 5:30. It's all consuming, and not everyone understands that.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that something that some advice maybe for someone about to take the plunge?
Well,
to brush up on those skills.
I certainly don't want to scare anyone about
Sure.
taking the leap, but it all becomes so personal, and it's impossible not to take a loss personally. So there's a lot of hard work initially, but there's a lot of freedom as well, which is, I think, is the major appeal.
Yeah. So was it, I mean, a big difference for you working for a big firm and having these great ideas that probably weren't, everyone's got great ideas, right? So how do you get your idea across versus doing your own thing? It's your way. Like you want to do it your style, your philosophy.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all lands on you early on, and there's nowhere to hide. So
Yeah, sure.
you're not living in the shadow of everyone.
Yeah.
You don't work with a team. One of the biggest challenges I had when I started off was sort of self-guessing myself and my designs. I had no one to bounce ideas off initially, and that was a huge challenge. In my mind, designs would just spin around, and it was that was all consuming back then. And I made the decision really early on in the process to employ people, and that was one of the best decisions I made as a business owner, and employ great people who have been with me for a long time. So they're certainly part of the brand. They are the brand. And I'm really proud of that decision.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you've got a great team, mate. Yeah, really, really good. So you talked a little bit about collaboration and creating spaces that bring joy. What does that actually mean in your practice?
In terms of collaboration?
Yeah.
We talk about collaboration a lot. Everyone talks about collaboration. I think that happens on a lot of different levels. Initially, collaboration within your team. It's not just one person designing and sort of distributing the workload. It's we design very collaboratively within the practice, and that's a great way of refining the design outcome. Also, our collaboration process includes the client as well, and really investing enough time, investing enough energy to sit down with the client and understand who they are, what they want, and enable them to articulate what they want. That's a huge challenge, and clients aren't really natural at expressing what they want. We laugh about the fact they're incredibly good at telling us what they don't like and what they hate. But that sort of collaborative process to make them feel comfortable enough to express what they want, and I guess comment on our designs as well, which is really important. And equally, that collaboration filters through to the delivery. So which are the consultants we're working with? We want to build a great team to deliver each project. We're lucky enough to work with great builders, great consultants, great other designers, interior designers, landscape architects, etc. And they really help bring a product together in a really beautiful way, which is certainly a great outcome for our clients.
Yeah. And I guess it's as it goes down, years on, you've got a lot of, in your portfolio, a lot of projects that they can go, oh, well, actually, I really love that. I love that. And I love that, versus trying to, bundle something together that they might like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very, it's an interesting feeling when you're presenting a design to a client for the first time, because you're making a lot of assumptions on the conversations you've had to date. So you want to ensure that you've had enough time to really understand who they are. So I love that reveal. It's a little bit intense sometimes, especially when there's silence. But,
Sure.
no, it's a good process.
Yeah. Has there been one where it's like just been like, oh, no, and then it's like, hang on a sec, give me a minute to explain why, and then it's like, actually we love it, like it's full 360.
Absolutely. And we always revisit a client we had, which was a great client, and we presented a house that was all black. And I remember the client said, I was assuming I was going to get an all white house. So we compromised and gave half black, half white. But it certainly, it has happened in the past, and sometimes it's not always perfect process, but the more we sort of learn about that process, we have asked the right questions during the early pre-design phase, and spend as much time as we can to gain their trust, and also make sure that we understand all the nuances about their brief. And I think you might lead to a question shortly about the strength of the value of a good project brief.
Yes.
That's so important, and giving the client enough time to really develop their brief is really, really critical, and giving them sort of the leading questions to understand what they actually want.
They need to think about this area, this area, this area, this. Yeah.
And it's not always about just sending through a list of a pile of photos or pile of images that they think they like. There needs to be context to that, and understanding the functionality of each project, and the design. The design needs to respond to that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, mate. Absolutely.
You can rewind that if you want.
No, that's all right. That's good. Your work often feels calm and restrained. How do you stop from over-designing and keeping it nice and calm?
That's a good question. I guess we have a series of sort of internal design reviews that the team is involved in, the project team, and often beyond the project team. And we really have, we set ourselves a goal of what we're trying to achieve in each design for each project, and what are the themes, what are the, as I said, the goals. And if each design, both in the concept design and then the interiors and the schematic design, doesn't align with that, we need to identify why that isn't achieving those goals, and we need to adjust the design quite quickly. That doesn't always happen in front of the client.
Sure.
It happens behind the scenes, but clients come to us often wanting that design outcome. That's part of their project brief. It's not always our preferred, or it's not always it's not always our design outcome. We often have clients who don't want that, overly calm sort of calm material palette. Don't know where I was going with that one.
No, that's all right. Does that sort of lead into then layering? Can you explain how layering works to people listening?
In terms of the layering of the design?
Layering a design, and what does that process look like?
Well, in terms of the design process, we start incredibly broad with our clients, and even at the early feasibility study, we offer our clients a range of designs to really help them visualize and help them articulate what their brief needs to be. And that's very, very early. That's sort of day one, day two. And that's the first step for our design process. And then once we sort of settle on a floor plan that everyone seems to understand and feel comfort in, they can afford it, which is often something that gets overlooked. Then we start to develop the three-dimensional form, the material compositions. And that process is quite rigorous internally. And that hopefully aligns with a project brief. So before we actually do those schematic designs, we do have a workshop session with our clients to really understand some of the materials they're interested in. And as I said, the materials they don't like. It's quite funny that a lot of clients have a history from their youth of materials they're really petrified of.
Sure.
So it reminds them of the school toilet block. And concrete blocks are cool, by the way. And then we, I guess once we present that design, there's a layering of, refinement to that schematic design. And then the next layer for us is always the interior design that comes shortly after that. So that's down to the one-to-one detail, and it has a really bespoke sort of approach in terms of both the materials, the function, and the detailing. And that combination of the interior and exterior architecture, we're big fans of the marriage between the two. They need to be harmonious, you would think. So there's not so much a schizophrenic approach, I hope.
We often have, groups come through and, architect will bring their client and, we're talking about looking at lighting, and then they're bringing in finishes and they're trying to match up finishes. Is that sometimes a challenge when the client thinks they need to match things and they probably don't, and you're trying to steer them one way, and because you know that at the end of this, it's going to be correct.
Yeah,
they just need to trust the process.
I wish every client trusted the process.
Yeah,
the business would be very different if it did. I think one of the problems we have with our clients is this thing called Pinterest, and they seem to keep obsessing about little details and not understand the design holistically, concurrently as well. So there is an obsession to inject these sort of architectural elements, which is a little bit frustrating, and finding that right balance between the correct amount of personality and detail and refinement early on in that process is really critical. And that's something we've sort of tested throughout the years. It's always a challenge, I find, that's for sure.
What makes, even a lot of projects, what makes a good client? Like, it's not a trick question. It's like not trying to upset anybody, but what makes a good client? Perfect world.
A good client. I think the best clients for us are the clients that we establish a sense of trust as early as we can.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's a seed of doubt with our clients and they start interrogating every process, every decision, that's okay, but it's incredibly inefficient, and we sometimes feel that the result is compromised. I'm not saying clients shouldn't be engaged in the process, but when they trust that we know what they want to a certain extent, the projects are so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And we're often much more proud of the final product. Also, clients that are aware of the design process before, so they know the steps, they know where we need to keep the tempo going, and there's no sort of fear and panic in terms of the unknown, in terms of the final outcome.
Yeah.
Clients who are working with it for the first time often, ultimately incredibly unaware of how things go from the first design to the final completion of the project. So they're petrified of some of the elements and steps through that, and they feel there's an overwhelming amount of pressure on them to make a decision, and that can get complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Is it talking about you've done the brief, it's really strong, somewhere along the line, midway, there's like, well, we want to do this, but they don't understand the impact of all that work you've just done, and potentially going to ruin the whole design. You have to push back, right? It's like, well, actually, no.
You try and push back. In saying that, there's nothing worse than an unhappy client.
Yes.
So often we do anything we can, and maybe my accountant disagrees with this approach, but a happy client is the best advocate for your business. So often we roll over pretty quick, and often that makes the next steps beyond that much, much smoother.
Sure. Yeah.
If you've got an angry client early on, or a confused client, or a stressed client, it's a very long-winded process.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that.
We do. Residential work is deeply personal. So do you aim for emotion and personal contact with these people that you're dealing with, like to try and bring that into the project?
Yes. all of our projects aim to be incredibly well tailored for the specific client, especially for the private homes, and helping a client really understand what they need, and this idea that it's not just about having what you had in the past. You know, what are the options available to each of our clients? So it's a process of helping them understand all of the elements that are achievable in each of the design elements, and that goes from not just a broad overarching sort of design approach down all the way down to the nitty gritty, which is often confronting for our clients. What do you mean by, tell me more about what you mean by emotion in this situation.
People, it's a very emotional decision, right? You're spending all this money and you want to, putting a lot of trust into you. And at the end of the day, I want to move into this home that's going to be my forever home.
Yeah. It's so emotional.
It's very emotional. And you can see why people get upset or, not even at anything. It's just like, I don't know if this is going the right way,
It's so emotional for the reasons you just mentioned. It's incredible. This is a huge investment for these clients. It's also potentially no plan B in some situations.
Yeah.
So all the chips are in. And I think the risk for our clients is they don't truly understand what the final product's going to be. So putting all this faith in someone is very emotional. But I think the emotion, in terms of a positive emotion, it goes through the roof on completion.
Yes.
The build process is typically very, very stressful because they can't see the finished product, and there's a fear of imperfection.
Mid-site visit would be terrible, right?
Should ban them. But the final, I guess what we're incredibly proud of our practice is the amount of joy all of our projects aim to bring our clients. And we touched on it earlier, when we go back and visit a client and you see how happy they are, how well they're using a project, property, that's the emotion that's why we do it. That's exactly why clients invest in us and invest in these projects, because they want to live a different life to what they were living before. And we aim to do that on every single project.
It's awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've Esther's 10 years this year, and I met you pretty much, started working with it when we started Est. So I never knew you before that.
How did we meet?
It was a connection through Alistair.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was great. And so I'd never worked with you. We've worked now for 10 years. When do you start thinking about light? So it wasn't me who introduced you to light. You were using lighting well anyway. So when did you, in a project, think about artificial light?
It's a good question. Probably not early enough, in honesty, but it's normally during that detailed design phase that we really drill into what is available and what's potentially new and what's worked in the past. So I guess that's another layering to our design process in how the people or the occupants want to use the space. And I guess we work through a series of different design testing and some potential ideas, and ideally we work with you much earlier and get your input. We're happy to confess that we're not lighting experts, so having great people around us is critical. And helping a client understand the benefit of great lighting is always an interesting process.
Yeah.
Some of our clients come to us saying, downlights everywhere. I just want downlights.
Sure.
Because we want so much light, and they don't understand the value of lighting, I guess differentials, the different contrast in light, and functional lighting versus mood lighting, as I'm sure you have these conversations with all of our clients who come in. And I don't know where I was going with that one, but
the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Sooner we can understand the project, and it's not just about sending us a plan saying, how would you like this? It's like we really need to hear that brief as well.
Yeah.
Because it tells us a big story about where we should be focusing on. And, some people do love a lot of light. Some people want every square inch lit, and we'll talk to them about, light and shadow and, task and mood and da da da. So it's nice to get the people in to have that conversation and sort of open their eyes a bit to that. So we love getting involved.
Yeah. I'd love to know how you deal with clients who come in and say, I want light everywhere, just max it out.
Well, the beauty of the space we've got here is we can take them to a room that's lit to the max, and then we can say, now this is what you like, but let's go for a walk and we can sort of show you some other areas, and we'll take them maybe in here and sort of say what this does and how you might feel in your space. Exactly. Changes your mood. You relax. Go to another space, different again. Going to the bathroom mirror and I'm looking in the bathroom, different again. You need to think about all these different areas. So it's just about maybe introducing them to those few different scenarios, and then it's like, okay. So you see the penny drop, and and it works with bringing in end users in, but also lots of architects come in as well. We love doing those tours.
And I guess this is one sort of component of our design that clients often struggle to understand. And when you present a design for a lighting, an electrical proposal, they don't understand the nuances and the value in strategic lighting. So bring them somewhere here. We should do it in all the projects. Come into this space. It's fantastic. Bit intense, but maybe it's the cameras. I wish we started earlier in terms of the design of the lighting. It's also really important that we limit the amount of design decisions our clients are exposed to strategically. So,
what's one design move that consistently improves how people live in a space?
In terms of our design approach?
Yeah. Is there a little trick that everyone needs this?
Well, there's a few.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to like this. It's the way we manipulate natural light.
Sure.
Light.
Love that. You need it.
The way we position all of the windows orientation, and again, that's another, I guess, element that clients often undervalue and can't visualize until they're 1 year into living in a house, sadly. But when they do understand it, we often get a phone call. Oh my God, how amazing is the light here? Which is fantastic. The other must-have I always suggest is in-floor heating. I'm a big fan of in-floor heating. It's just sort of the passive gentleness of that heat is really beautiful. Don't know if I should say that out loud, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. Your projects often use a restrained palette of natural materials. Why is that important to you?
Well, I guess it comes back to everyone's client brief, and I think I mentioned a bit slightly earlier where it's not all of our clients that want to feel relaxed and calm in their own house, but that's certainly a discussion we have very early on, and it is a common desired emotion. You have a long day at work, you want to come home and feel really peaceful and relaxed. So that's often why our palette gravitates towards that. In saying that, we've got plenty of clients who they want a bit more intensity and a bit more mood and a bit more richness in the material palette. And again, we're happy to design to whatever the client's interested in. It comes down to teasing out what they want, what emotion they want to feel during the day, and have enough flexibility through the working week and into the weekends of all these emotions that they potentially didn't know they wanted. So that's always a great process in itself. How we do that is in terms of presenting our materials to the client, we use a lot of visualization, as I'm sure a lot of practices do, and physical samples to really understand the tones and the textures within our designs. It's really important that all of our clients know every inch of their design before we go too far. So we do a lot of visualization where our clients can have that opportunity, and we learnt that the hard way. So that's certainly a great sort of part of our design process. Yeah,
good. What's one detail or that you tend to obsess over that most people would never really even realise you thought so much about these little things?
Architects are inherently nerdy. I love it. And they spend a lot of time and energy hiding things. How we deal with parapet cappings, flashings, all these things to make them appear invisible. So when we see that, we get really excited. Architects wouldn't notice it. Builders bloody hate it. Things like that, hiding mechanical ventilation.
Sure.
Immaculate tile setouts. They're the things that we get way too excited about. Again, probably shouldn't have overshared that one, but
no, but they're the things now that people listening might actually look at and go, oh, wow, this has actually been thought about, versus just a passing, oh, cool.
Because when it isn't thought about, it certainly upsets us. Yeah.
Sure, and potentially upsets the client. So the things
does,
that they then
when we
see,
point it out,
it's like, oh, why didn't you guys hide that duct? Oh, well, we didn't obsess over it.
And it's become part of our design process now, that rigor in terms of the design all the way to the finish line is something that our practice is incredibly, potentially overly passionate about. And I like it that way.
Yeah. How do you go about, you're doing this project, then you get to the stage where you need to find a builder with your client. What's the process of finding a good builder and making sure you trust they can do what you've drawn?
Well, we're pretty lucky. We've got a great group of builders that we work with consistently. We know how they work.
Yeah.
You probably met several of them. And most of our clients, especially in the current market, crave the need for a competitive price in terms of, and so we do typically go through the tender process where we competitively tender 3 builders against each other. We're not allowed to make the final call, obviously, in terms of selecting the builders, but we would workshop a series of a group of builders to nominate for that tender process. We would be incredibly keen to only invite builders that we're confident can represent our work and do us a great job and make us look fantastic, but also be really appropriate for our clients. So great communication, great technical skills, great contractors they work with. That's incredibly important. And ultimately a fair price.
Yeah.
The other side of that is often we have clients that want a sense of familiarity and they love a referral builder. So we work with a builder quite early on in the process to establish preliminary pricing. That's a great opportunity for our clients to hopefully fall in love with the builder, and that can work really well too. So we've got a couple of projects under construction currently where we've done that, and there's already a sense of trust that the builder is the right person for that project. They've seen plenty of their work before. They've got friends who have built with them. We've built with them. So it's not so much about the dollar for them. It's about having someone who can deliver a really smooth project. That sounds nice.
That sounds nice. What's something that a builder can do that an architect would really appreciate, like from your point of view? It's like, we found this detail, let's work it out together. It's not possible. Is it something like that? How does that? What's something they can do to?
Well, there's lots of things. One of the big things for us is if a builder has a better way of doing something, we certainly welcome a conversation around that. There's no ego for us. It's not us versus them. We come back to this idea of collaborative approach, and we've had great success with that. We're often pretty passionate about the aesthetic outcome as well. So if there's a marriage between the two sort of, I guess, teams working together, we're incredibly happy with that.
Good.
The other thing is great communication. Who would have thought? Good communicators with builders is so important.
Yep.
And the way they maintain clear, direct communication with us through the process. We often, we want clients to enjoy the build process and be aware of what's happening on site. That's really, really important. They want to know where their money's been invested. So having that communication with the builder's fundamental, and great trades. Mentioned before, you need to have great trades to represent the builder. We're only as good as a tiler.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept in itself. But what else is good about it? What makes a good builder? We'd like to hope that there's a level of transparency with our builders. We can trust them from early on and know where every dollar's going. We're lucky enough to work with some great builders that we're really clear about their value and how they are appropriate for some of our great clients. So that's a bit of a luxury, I think.
Oh, you're lucky, yeah.
I guess when we've worked in people for the first time, it hasn't always worked out so well, and there's teething issues that we don't know how each other works, we don't know how they communicate well or poorly, and every conversation seems to take unnecessarily long amount of time. So it's hard. It's really hard.
So what's a red flag then for, maybe a potential breakdown that you can identify early in that process, so that you can, you start seeing this lack of communication or not getting answers?
When people can't interpret a drawing or and want to do something their own way, doing it without consulting the architect is the ultimate sin, surely. But and not sort of, I guess, identifying issues on site early enough and potentially presenting solutions. So if often builders who we don't love working with, they raise their hand and say, we can't do this, this doesn't work. That's a awkward position for us to be in, and we love it when builders say, this doesn't work, here are some options, how do we get through this? And that sort of approach is certainly our preferred, that's for sure.
Mate, you've got a team with the real diverse experience. How do you maintain consistency in great design and keeping those people part of your team?
They've all got diverse backgrounds, but we have a pretty united approach to design. It's by no means my approach that needs to be implemented across everyone. It's actually the exact opposite in a way. We all design together, and we'll have a really strong understanding of each of our clients who come on board. And so, obviously we're always trying to satisfy them first, but each of our team members is acutely aware of what we're trying to achieve collectively, and that's taken a little bit of time to refine, how we sort of articulate that process, and that's something we're incredibly proud of. It's when a client comes on board, they're very early on introduced to the entire team, so they know who they're working with, how great the team they're working with are, and they feel really comfortable in that process. So it's not so much everyone works with me; it's they work with the entire team, and that's from my opinion, that's a great business model. I love that approach. So certainly frees me up a bit.
I was going to say, because it's Tom Robertson Architects, so how many people are expecting to deal with you, like exclusively on a project? You're on the project, right? You're on everything to some extent.
Most people, most people come to me expecting for me to be involved in every step of the way, and it's during that phone call that I introduce them to our process. So it's very quickly they become aware of how we work. So I need to clarify that immediately, and
yeah. So, but you are heavily involved in, you're putting your design stamp on a project, right? Still,
I'm not doing much CAD anymore.
Yeah.
So in terms of David, who you've met plenty of times, is the other director. He drives a lot of the initial schematic design, and then as we build the team around that project, other people inject their sort of contribution, and we seem to design quite successfully as a team.
Sure.
So I would struggle to think it's a one-man
not
design band.
not suggesting that, more that you're still involved.
I'm still aware of what's going on. No, I need to be. As you know, my life's changed slightly in the last year or two, so I haven't been as present as I've been as present as I wanted to be honest.
Yeah.
And having a team that can run the business to a level of autonomy is something I'm incredibly proud of. So I can focus on family, but that's certainly something I planned a long time ago, and things obviously took a little bit longer than I thought they would in terms of family planning.
Yeah.
it's a great outcome for us.
What does running the practice look like behind the scenes for people looking from the outside in?
It's hard. It's very hard. It's
You talk about family, and you got
Yeah.
the business behind the business.
So I'm sure everyone knows the current world we're in at the moment. It's complicated, and there's a hell of a lot of unknown out there. So drumming up new business is in itself a full-time job. Understanding, creating a team of the right people to deliver the work we have is incredibly complicated. Staff and people are complicated in themselves. So building the right team is fundamental to the success of our practice. Balancing that with life at home is hard, and I certainly haven't mastered that, but I'm trying bloody hard. It's certainly opened my eyes to how other people have run businesses from a long way back, but I'm proud of what I've done to date, and I'm pretty excited about the future, that's for sure.
That's awesome, mate.
No more kids today.
Good. How do you feel residential architecture in Melbourne has evolved over the past 10 to 15 years?
That's a good question. I think good design has become more commonplace.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne especially should be incredibly proud of the quality of design that we've been offering and delivering. And that has only inspired other architects to do great work. We're incredibly relaxed guys in our office, but we're under the surface, we're very, very competitive and very passionate about what we do. And we see all the great work out there, and we want to compete's not the right word, but we want to be up amongst it. We want to create beautiful work that we can be proud of, and hopefully is at the forefront of great architecture in Melbourne and beyond. So in terms of the quality of design, in terms of maybe you're alluding to trends potentially. Everyone seems to talk about this wild idea of timelessness, and I've thought about timelessness a lot. And what does it actually mean? To be honest, I don't think there is such a thing on reflection.
Yeah,
I think design that doesn't lean heavily on trends is timeless.
Sure.
And if it doesn't have a strong, recognizable aesthetic, it's more timeless. Color, materials, what's in this week. We do try and not get sucked into those ideas. We don't do arches. Wow.
Let's be cool, man. I'm going to go and check your project.
Have we done one? And that's something we sort of talk through with our clients. We want to make sure that they love their house today, but also they want to love their house in 10 years. And there's also, I guess, there's a notion around the value of the property as well. We don't want to snooker our clients into, oh my God, that's so 2026, and it won't go well in the next 10 years. We certainly want a house to be driven by fundamental design process and approach. So great floor plans, well organised spaces, great scale of spaces, great light. These are so fundamental to design, and if they aren't achieved in each of our projects, we consider them a fail.
Okay, that's amazing, mate.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for better design in the industry right now?
That's a tough one because I know some people are going to say AI and all these sort of technological advances, but I hope that just the awareness of the value of great design, I hope that is an opportunity, which is a hard thing to sort of understand considering how intense some of the financial stresses are across the board at the moment. So we hope that some of the advancements in materials are good opportunities of building things faster, cheaper, and in new ways.
Yeah.
They could be potential opportunities. We talk about prefabrication all the time, and doing mass construction that way at an incredibly rapid rate is really exciting and certainly project specific, but who knows where that one leads. I'm pretty sick of AI, hearing about AI, but anyway, I shouldn't be. I should be a bit more open-minded.
I think you have to be, mate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Talking a little bit about your personal philosophy, mate. What's one principle you never compromise in your work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like that. We don't start a project unless we feel confident it's something we can be really proud of.
Yep.
And if it's a project that's very lucrative and has a client that isn't on the same page to us in terms of the design outcome, we regretfully decline the project.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taken a fair bit of time to sort of understand the value of that, because we want to maintain a level of strictness in our brand. And it's been a very tough decision to do that, especially when things are tense financially. So, but again, that's something we're really passionate about. So we're only as good as our last, well, hopefully we're not only as good as our last project, but our portfolio is what elevates us to where we want to be.
Yeah. What does success look like to you now versus when you started 13 years ago? Started the business 13 years ago.
Yeah, today, calm. I crave a sense of calm and robustness in the business. I want to remove any volatility in project forecasting. I love everything to be more predictable. It's so hard to predict a project flow from day one to the day you hand the keys to a client. There's so many things that get in the way that can go wrong, and understanding how you can predict those is an enormous challenge. When I started, I just wanted to do everything and anything yesterday,
of course.
And which is great. You're young, enthusiastic. You're working out of the spare room. You've got no overheads. It's a wild ride, and it's a wild ride, and we certainly loved it back then. But it's a very different beast now. We've got mouths to feed.
Yeah,
we've got to pay rent, and we've got to maintain a brand, and we want to keep the foot on the gas with that one. So every morning I wake up and I crave that sort of that calmness in the office. I joke about it every day, but I would love to know, exactly what's happening through the day, through the week, and for the remainder of the year. Yeah. So everyone can relax and there's just less stress on the team. I would love that.
Yeah. Good answer, mate. Couple of quick ones to finish. Wrap it up, mate. Favorite material to work with?
Concrete. I love working with concrete. We don't get to work with it enough. Mm-hmm. It's expensive, and it's not every client's cup of tea.
Yeah.
We use a lot of brick at the moment as well, which is really beautiful material to work with. And from early on, we've been passionate about working with timber as well. So they're pretty good. They're pretty fantastic materials.
Sure.
Yeah.
Most underrated element in a home?
That's a good one. Well, the value of natural light, and the value of just a very basic, floor plan, and how much how that sets you up for a great project. Getting the bones right on day one sounds bloody stupid, but that is so important. Yeah. And the other one is understanding your client. Yeah. It's not so much about the built product; it's just in terms of the process. And clicking early on, that is just that drives the success of any project we work on. So that's something we're really keen to develop on as early as we can.
What's one thing every house should have?
Well, I did say in-floor heating, but that's just, how pretentious is that? There's so many things that
there's
every
so
house.
many things. There's the obvious things we need, right? But is there something that you're like, got to sneak this in somehow? This is a must-have.
It's really interesting when a client comes to you on day one and asks what their must-haves, and they often seem to obsess about the size of the laundry, which is bizarre. But I talk about it in every project. The sense of volume and scale is so critical to all of our projects, and that's incredibly valuable. Mm-hmm. So that's something we drive from a really initial stage of the design process. It's not just about having a uniformed sort of aesthetic or a uniform sense of scale, having that sense of contrast and to really impact people's emotions, how they live in a space.
Yeah.
And underfloor heating's good too.
Mate, what is your dream project? If you could pick one, what is it?
It's not about budget, and it probably should be, but it isn't. And we're really passionate about working in regional areas now. We've had great success of late, and we're keen to do more, working on beautiful sites that demand beautiful design. That's something that we fantasize about every day. We want to do more of that. And it comes back to the client who has a great brief. So someone who gives up control a little bit, takes enormous trust. So when the reins are off, that becomes a really great client, great project, and we're really hopeful that becomes a great outcome.
Yeah. You'll get it, mate.
I'll get it.
You'll get it.
The unicorn, yeah.
Mate, I've kind of alluded to this, but if you could go back to the start when you first started and you said, I'm doing this, 2013, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I would probably hope to understand more about that every conversation you have with any person is a potential lead to a potential project. So that sense of obsessive networking is important, and I sort of took that for granted a little bit and didn't really understand the value of that process. The other thing is, initially I took everything so personally. Every time someone turns us down, it was like an insult on myself. It was bizarre. So you got to be comfortable with the rejection, and so that helps you put yourself out there even more. So I wish I knew that and had that skill much earlier.
Yeah.
We're not for everyone. We know that. It comes down to price. It comes down to approach and who we are as architects. So taking it personally is a huge risk. Yeah.
And now this is a final question. Thank you, mate. What's something about your process that clients would be surprised to learn?
Well, they would be completely unaware of how many designs we test before that goes to the client.
Yeah.
And we go through enormous, exhaustive sort of design testing to really understanding what we think lands with the client brief best and where we think the best design outcome is. So I worry that sometimes they just think we've done it, and,
that's right.
And why'd you charge so much? So that's something I'm confident clients aren't quite aware of.
Yeah. Do you keep a scrapbook of when it's done? You're like, hey, guess what? Here's all the stuff we thought about.
Well, it's digital now, mate. So yeah, it's in a backlog of serious amount of files. So we do go back every now and then. Maybe we reuse them on other projects.
Yeah.
So, but we should do that more often. We should celebrate some of the other things that didn't work, some of the projects that weren't successful. How did we get to that design outcome? So,
that's great.
I'd love to. Yeah, it's a good idea.
There you go. Tom, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
It's been awesome chatting to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.